say hello to the new SwimOutlet.com. Enhanced navigation, larger, higher resolution imagery, more filtering and search capability so you can find what you need faster. As always, low price guarantee and free shipping on $49. The redesigned SwimOutlet.com. Dive in, say hi.
Welcome everyone to the Morning Swim Show on Wednesday, June 11th, 2014. I'm your host, Jeff Cummings. In the Finis Monitor today, we'll talk to Cheryl Furjanic, the director of a documentary featuring Greg Louganis and arguably the greatest diver in history. The documentary, called Back on Board, will be having its world premiere next week at the AFI Documentary Festival with more screenings to follow. And before we bring on the director, let's show you a brief clip from the film.
There was a lot of things that were going on behind the scenes of that whole entire experience. '88 began my true love affair with this sport, because I loved it. I loved going to training. I loved doing the work because I didn't think I would live. And so, for me to be here today, 20 some odd years later, and be able to talk to you and share these stories, is just such a blessing to me.
And joining me now from New York City via Skype is Cheryl Furjanic. Cheryl, it's great to see you. How are you today?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm sure things are a little bit hectic now. You got your world premiere in a week. I understand you guys were still last week doing some last-minute edits.
Well, we were a few weeks ago. We were putting the sort of finishing touches on the film, and we were able to get that done. And everyone who worked on the film did a beautiful job. And so it looks beautiful, it sounds beautiful, and we really can't wait to share it with the world, to unveil it at the AFI Docs Film Festival.
Is there ever a point where, as director, you say, okay, I could let this film go, or are you always in your mind thinking of different things you can do with it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Some people say you don't ever finish a movie, you kind of abandon it. I think there is a point with filmmaking and lots of different arts where you kind of think, oh, this thing could change, this thing could change. But I'm just extremely thrilled at the way our film turned out. And, our team was an incredible team the whole way through. There's always a little part of you that wonders, could this have been a slightly different movie? But I think, the movie we made is just, I'm very, very proud of it.
You have no previous experience with competitive diving, is that correct?
I do not. My last film was about the U.S. Olympic synchronized swimming team. So personally, I'm not a swimmer or a diver, but I seem to be gravitating towards these sports quite a bit.
So I'm sure you learned a lot about diving in general, and Greg in particular during this whole filming process. So it was about 2 years of filming?
Yeah, we shot with Greg closely for about 2 years, and two and a half maybe, and we're doing editing kind of the second half of that time as well. But Greg and I spent quite a bit of time together, and we spent a lot of time around pools.
So how did you get involved with this documentary?
Well, a friend of mine, Will Sweeney, who's the producer of the film, he and I went to film school together many moons ago, and he knew that I had done this other synchronized swimming documentary. He had heard that Greg was returning to diving as a coach, and he would have thought, oh, this would be a really great documentary, and he thought of me, and we kind of said, yeah, that would be a great documentary. So we figured out a way to get in touch with Greg. We pitched the idea to him, and he was really excited from the very beginning.
So what's the point that you're trying to get across with this film?
Well, I think there's a few things. One is, I think for a younger generation of folks, they actually they don't know Greg, haven't heard his name mentioned, and so part of it was this idea of reintroducing a younger generation of audiences to Greg and his story, both kind of cementing his place in sports history and in LGBT history in a way that I don't think it had been done before. But also we wanted to really present this just kind of compelling portrayal of a complicated human being who, is the greatest diver ever and who had been, separated from his sport for many, many years, and to kind of see him come back to the sport and watch that unfold was really powerful for us.
So do you remember watching Greg as a diver during the Olympics?
I do. I was one of those kids on TV watching Greg hit his head and sort of hanging on the edge of my seat at the drama of the situation, which I believe we do replicate very well in the film. One thing that is important to me about the film now is being able to tell what Greg was going through at the time when he was competing in the Olympics. As many people know, he's an out gay man living with HIV. And I think what's important to me is, that there were not a lot of stories about gay people or gay athletes, especially when I was younger. And then, so I think for me, it's really important to be able to tell this story that I sort of wish had been around when I was growing up.
And what do you think people who may know a lot about Greg will learn for the first time by watching this documentary?
I think there's a few things. One, or the most significant one, I think, is that you sort of, and Greg says it in the film, that kind of people assume that medals equal millions, and that, with Greg's athletic success, that he would have been just kind of coasting for the rest of his life, and, but he really did come into some financial troubles in his life, which we actually encountered in making the film. So that's something that I don't think a lot of people will really understand or expect from a film about this, one of the most decorated Olympians, certainly the most decorated diver. And I think that is something that is going to surprise people. And I think that that's sort of a little told story about elite athletes in some ways too, which is what happens after greatness, what happens after the retirement, when, the competitions are over, the Olympics are done, what happens after. So I think that's something that our film will show people. And also, Greg's interest in aftercare of athletes that are coming up behind him. So, how can he help, help educate and coach other athletes through the transition period, after they retire.
Yeah, I think something that was really remarkable to me watching him after he was done with the Olympics is really taking the opportunity to educate people about him living with HIV and living as a gay athlete and his struggles of being a closeted athlete. I'm sure that that's something that's very much highlighted in the film as well.
Absolutely. So we sort of try to show what was going on, that the public saw, sort of what his public triumphs were, and then also we're able to show his personal struggles and to show what those two things were kind of as they were unfolding at the time, and really being able to kind of bring you back into those moments of what was going through his head at the time. But yeah, it is something that is definitely highlighted in the film, and that we're very proud of.
Well, the world premiere is next Friday, June 20th at the AFI Documentary Film Festival. I'm sure you got to walk down that red carpet and gown and everything. You got everything set to go?
Working on it. We're working on it. That's for sure.
What other screenings do you have lined up after that one?
We have a screening the following week in San Francisco at the Frameline Film Festival on June 25th, and then in Los Angeles, Greg's hometown screening, our Los Angeles premiere at Outfest on July 19th. Greg and I and the producer Will Sweeney will be at all of these. Greg and I and Will Sweeney, the producer, will be at all of these upcoming screenings, and we would just be so thrilled to see audiences turn out for Greg's incredible story of resilience and momentum forward, and really never giving up. He's got this sort of unstoppable sense of resilience that I really think will be inspiring to audiences as the movie makes its way through the world.
Is there a chance that this will have a wider theatrical release and maybe even DVD down the road?
We are working now with a sales agent to shop the movie around, and that's our hope, is that we are able to find a really good home for it on broadcast and other places. So yes, spread the word if you see the movie and know some folks in those circles. But yes, no, but we are really hopeful and confident that the movie will find a really good home on television or in theaters, certainly on DVD eventually.
Now, you mentioned that you did a film on synchronized swimming. You just did a film on diving. Is water polo, pool swimming on the list for something to do next?
Don't think I haven't thought about it. You know what? It's funny. I'm not quite sure. It does seem like a logical next step, some kind of other aquatic sport, but I'm not quite sure yet. But you'll be the first to know. I promise.
That'll be great. We've got a couple of swimming documentaries coming out later this year and then the next year or so. So, it just would be a nice, great thing to see more of these coming out, because obviously there are a lot of stories to be told.
Absolutely.
Well, Cheryl, before we let you go, I know there's still some last-minute things to do with getting things ready for the world premiere, but we want to submit you to the final 5. These are 5 questions we ask our guests at the end of the show. Usually these have a little bit of a swimming slant, but we'll change it up for you, since I know you're not very much in the swimming milieu, as it were. First question for you is, what is your favorite documentary film?
Oh, boy. I don't know if I can narrow it down to one, but there's the filmmaker Hetty Honigman makes just gorgeous films, so it's pretty much anything that she makes I will probably fall in love with. Okay.
What's your favorite feature film?
Oh boy. Wizard of Oz is really up there for me. It's just, I loved it as a kid. I still love it. It's just, I think one of the best pieces of cinema created.
No argument for me. All right, besides filmmaking, what's a career or job you would like to try?
Oh boy. I played soccer all growing up, so in a sort of alternate fantasy universe, I think I would love to be a professional soccer player, but I think that ship has sailed, so I'll stick to this filmmaking for now. But I'm also a documentary teacher at NYU, so I really do quite enjoy that. So, in another lifetime, soccer player, but for now we'll stick with filmmaking.
Okay. And on the flip side of that, what's a career or job you would not like to try?
Oh boy, gosh. I am not quite sure. Maybe bungee jumping instructor? That seems like something I would not enjoy.
Yeah, bungee jump instructor or demonstrator, yeah, it's too risky.
Yeah.
All right, last question for you, Cheryl. Where would you like to go for vacation?
Oh gosh. I would pick Paris every time if someone else could pay for it. But I think anywhere near sun this summer will be welcome after spending a few years shooting it in the editing room. So we're hoping that's on the horizon.
Yeah, you definitely deserve it. I'm sure it's been a long 3 years, and I'm sure you're anxious to see your work paying off on the big screen. And congratulations on getting it done, and we're looking forward to helping spread the word about it.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Morning Swim Show. To learn more about Back on Board, including where to see the film, go to louganisdoc.com. That's louganisdoc.com. I'm Jeff Cummings. Thanks for watching.